The next morning, my father finally called. Not because I had spent the entire day sick, not because I was home alone, because they needed me for something. Ava, my father, Richard Bennett, said, "Your mother forgot to mention we're planning Chloe's birthday trip next week. Keep your schedule clear." I stared at the ceiling. I won't be going. Silence. Then a short laugh. "What do you mean?" "I'm busy." His voice hardened immediately. "What could possibly be more important than your sister's birthday?" In my previous life, those words always worked. I canceled plans. I gave up opportunities. I convinced myself that family came first. But family had never put me first. Not once. "I have an important project," I replied. "You never mentioned a project." Of course I hadn't. Neither he nor my mother had ever asked what I studied. They knew Chloe's favorite designer, her favorite restaurant, her favorite vacation destination. But they didn't even know what degree I was earning. Before he could argue further, I ended the call. For the first time in my life, choosing myself felt easy. 3 days later, I signed the agreement. A prestigious research program based in Houston. The same opportunity I had rejected in my previous life. Back then, my parents begged me to stay in Miami. "We'll help you find a job. We missed 22 years with you. Family should stay together." I believed them. A month later, they introduced me to Chloe's startup company. "You should help your sister," my mother suggested. "She needs an assistant." Assistant. After graduating with honors, after years of scholarships and academic awards, I gave up everything to work for Chloe. Not this time. This time I signed my name without hesitation. Ava Bennett. The signature felt like freedom. That evening I went downstairs for water. Voices drifted from the living room. I stopped near the staircase. "Chloe, the family photos turned out amazing." My mother's voice was warm. "We should frame the biggest one." Chloe laughed happily. "Really?" "Of course." My father smiled. "And wait until you see the yacht we booked." "A yacht?" "For your birthday." Chloe squealed with excitement. "Oh my God! We'll spend 3 days sailing around the Florida Keys." "Thank you. I love you both." The three of them laughed together. A perfect family moment. One I had never been part of. Eventually, Chloe noticed me. "Ava?" Everyone turned. She smiled brightly. "Come look at the photos." I walked over. The picture sat in the center of the coffee table. My parents, Chloe, the ocean behind them. A beautiful family portrait without me. Exactly like before. "What do you think?" Chloe asked. I looked at the photo. Then I smiled. "It looks great." The room instantly became quiet. My mother looked surprised. My father frowned slightly. They had expected anger, tears, complaints. Instead, I handed the frame back, because this time I already knew where I belonged. And it wasn't there. "Ava," my mother said carefully, "we'll take another photo later." I nodded. "There won't be a need." Her expression froze. "What does that mean?" "Nothing." I picked up my glass, then added casually, "I'm leaving next week." Everyone stared. "What?" My father stood. "Leaving where?" "Houston." The room fell silent. I accepted a research position. For several seconds, nobody spoke. Then Chloe forced a smile. "That's wonderful." Her voice sounded strange. "How long will you be gone?" "I don't know." "A few months?" "Maybe years." The silence became even heavier. For the first time, they seemed to realize I wasn't planning my future around them anymore. My father cleared his throat. "What kind of research?" I almost laughed. The first question he'd ever asked about my career. Too late. "Aerospace engineering." His eyes widened. "So you're studying engineering?" My mother looked equally shocked. I stared at them both. "You didn't know?" Neither answered, because neither could. And in that moment, something shifted. For the first time, they realized how little they actually knew about me. Not because I was secretive, because they had never cared enough to ask. Later that night, I finished packing my suitcase. For the first time since returning to Miami, I felt hopeful. Next week, I would leave. And this time, I wasn't coming back as the girl who begged for love. The week passed faster than I expected. For the first time since returning to my biological family, I wasn't counting the days until they noticed me. I was counting the days until I left. Meanwhile, something strange started happening. My parents began asking questions, real questions. At breakfast, my mother suddenly asked, "What was life like growing up?" I looked up from my coffee. "What do you mean?" "The orphanage," she said quietly. My father glanced over his newspaper. "Was it difficult?" I almost laughed. Now they wanted to know? After 22 years? After months of living under the same roof? Still, I answered politely. It wasn't easy. That was enough to make both of them uncomfortable, because neither knew what to say next. The conversation quickly died. Across the table, Chloe immediately jumped in. "Mom, remember when I was 8 and broke my arm at summer camp?" Within seconds, the attention shifted back to her. As usual, and honestly, I didn't mind anymore. Every minute they spent focused on Chloe was one less minute I had to pretend we were a family. A few days later, my departure date finally arrived. To my surprise, my parents had arranged a farewell dinner. The dining table was covered with food, far more food than 4 people could possibly eat. When I walked into the room, my mother smiled nervously. "We wanted to do something nice before you leave." My father cleared his throat. "Houston is far away." For some reason, both of them looked uncomfortable, almost guilty. I took my seat without saying anything. My mother pushed a dessert toward me. "I made this myself." I glanced down. Mango cheesecake. My stomach tightened. I'm allergic to mango. The room instantly went silent. My mother's smile disappeared. "Oh." For a moment, she looked genuinely confused. Then, realization slowly appeared in her eyes. The person who loved mango wasn't me. It was Chloe. She had spent so many years remembering Chloe's preferences that she had accidentally prepared Chloe's favorite dessert for my farewell dinner. Again. My father quickly jumped in. "Try some of the main dishes instead." I looked across the table. Fried shrimp, fried fish, fried chicken. Almost everything was deep fried. "I can't eat fried food." Another silence. I had suffered from stomach problems since childhood. It was written in every medical report, but they didn't know, because they had never asked. Across the table, Chloe shifted uncomfortably. "Mom and Dad were trying to be nice." I looked at her. "I know." My mother lowered her eyes. For the first time, nobody defended themselves. Nobody called me dramatic. Nobody accused me of being difficult, because there was nothing to argue with. The truth was sitting right there on the table. After dinner, I stood up. "My ride will be here soon." My father's head snapped up. "So that's it?" I blinked. "What do you mean?" "You're leaving just like that?" I almost smiled. For years, I'd been the only one trying to build a relationship. Now they were surprised that I wasn't fighting to stay. "I have a train to catch." My mother stood as well. "If you need anything..." Her voice trailed off. The sentence sounded unfamiliar coming from her. "If I need anything, I'll manage." Pain flashed across her face, but I wasn't trying to hurt her. I was simply telling the truth, because that's how I had survived my entire life. A car horn sounded outside. My ride had arrived. I grabbed my suitcase and headed toward the door. Behind me, nobody spoke. The silence felt heavier than any argument. Just before stepping outside, I turned around. My mother looked anxious. My father looked lost. Chloe stood quietly between them. For a brief moment, I saw them clearly. Not as villains, not as monsters, just people who had made the same choice every day for years, whenever they had to choose between seeing me and seeing Chloe. They chose Chloe again and again and again, until it became a habit, one that was now impossible to ignore. "Ava." My mother took a step forward. I waited. but she couldn't find the words. Neither could my father. Eventually, I smiled politely. Goodbye. Then I walked out. No tears, no dramatic farewell, no final argument. The front door closed behind me, and for the first time in my life, I felt free. As the car pulled away from the Bennett mansion, I looked out the window. The house became smaller and smaller, until it disappeared completely. I thought I would feel sadness. Instead, I felt something unexpected. Relief. Because for the first time, my future belonged entirely to me, and hundreds of miles away, a new life was waiting. One where nobody would compare me to Chloe. One where nobody would tell me I wasn't enough. One where I finally had the chance to become the person I was meant to be. What I didn't know was that the moment I left, my parents would finally begin discovering the daughter they had never bothered to know.